Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Bishopsgate Institute for the penultimate of our summer season of concerts. Orphy Robinson performing today on a number of instruments that look, to me, incredibly high-tech and fabulous. So thank you so much for coming, joining us online and joining us in the hall. As you know, the Lunchtime concerts have been I'm sure you know, there's plenty of people here who've been to many concerts. Lunchtime concerts have been a big part of Bishopsgate Institute's programme since 1948. The reason for that is because during the Second World War, a woman called Dame Myra Hess, who was an accomplished concert pianist and arranger of music, particularly Bach for piano. She arranged Jesus Joy of Man's Desiring for piano, so if you hear anyone play it, it's her arrangement. And during the Second World War, when the government had closed all of the concert halls and all of the theatres and all of the galleries, and said that obviously an emergency was taking place and it wasn't appropriate to have concerts, she said, well, I disagree. People need something to inspire them in difficult times, and music is the thing that will inspire people in difficult times. And so she persuaded the government and the management of the National Gallery to let her run daily lunchtime concerts. And she performed and her friends performed, and there were queues of people down the street wanting to be inspired by music. And after the Second World War, the City Music Society, that was based here, wanted to continue that legacy, and so the concerts continued with Bishopsgate Institute. And then the rather attractive piano that you can see in the corner, just past Orphy here, this rather beautiful 1927 Rosewood Steinway Grand, is Myra Hess's piano. This is Myra the Steinway, which came here after her death in 1965. It was signed by Harry Steinway when they presented it to her when she retired. So there's a whole connection between the Institute and Myra Hess. But the whole point here is that these concerts are meant to be a little moment of respite, a little moment of enjoyment and inspiration in difficult times. And I think that's probably as relevant now as it's ever been. Normally we don't have them in the summer, partly because the weather is sometimes nice, but also because we normally have exams in here. There may be some of you who have actually taken an exam in here and been worrying about whether you've remembered everything, but of course COVID has meant that the exams aren't happening. So we thought, well, let's turn this slightly to our advantage and make sure we can have some lunchtime concerts, and that's why we have this summer sequence. So today we have Orphy Robinson, who has been wallowing very happily in our archive, I believe, and has curated a concert for us that will flow through a number of different characters. So it's not going to be lots of stop-start pieces in the way that you would normally expect. It will all become clear. Enjoy yourselves. Please keep your masks on if you are wearing them. If you're exempt, then obviously not. I look forward to talking to you very briefly at the end, but for now, Orphy Robinson.
William Cuffey, the Chartist. Cuffey, the son of a former slave, was a leading figure in the Chartist movement, the first mass popular political movement in Britain. Cuffey was elected to the national executive of the National Charter Association in 1842, and later that year voted president of the London Chartists. Cuffey's significance is illustrated by a contemporary report in the Times which referred to the black man and his party. He was transported to Tasmania for allegedly planning an uprising against the British government. He was later pardoned, but stayed in Tasmania and died there. Robert Weatherburn. Robert Weatherburn was born in Jamaica in 1762. As soon as he was old enough, Weatherburn left the plantation and became a sailor. He arrived in England in 1778 and soon afterwards found work as a tailor. Weatherburn was converted to Christianity by a Wesleyan preacher. Later he became involved in the Unitarian movement. A government spy claimed that at one meeting Weatherburn argued that a slave had the right to kill his master. This resulted in Weatherburn being arrested and charged with sedition and blasphemy. He was sent to Newgate prison, but was later released when his followers raised £2,000 bail money. Wedderburn was quick to condemn the Peterloo massacre, and on the 13th of September he held a special meeting on the subject at his Hopkins Street chapel. Wedderburn argued that an act of murder had been committed by the magistrates and yeomen. The following month, Wedderburn told an audience that the revolution was about to begin and that all working men should learn to use the gun, the dagger, the cutlass and pistols. Wedderburn also continued his campaign against slavery. He was particularly concerned with the role that the church played in the slave system. He published a pamphlet on the subject, a critical, historical and admonitory letter to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Wedderburn was also opposed to the idea of sending missionaries to the West Indies, arguing that they would be used to preach passive obedience to the poor black slaves. In November 1819, Wedderburn criticised radical reformers such as Henry Orator Hunt and Sir Francis Burdett. He argued that revolution, rather than reform, was what was needed. His vision was of simultaneous revolution of the poor in Europe and the black slaves in the West Indies. However, Wedderburn opposed the Cato Street conspiracy and argued that the planned insurrection was premature. William Davidson, 1781 to 1820. Davidson was a British African Caribbean radical executed for his role in the Cato Street conspiracy against Lord Liverpool's government in 1820. William Davidson was the illegitimate son of the Attorney General of Jamaica and a local black woman. At the age of 14, he travelled to Glasgow to study law. In Scotland, he became involved in the movement for parliamentary reform. He was apprenticed to a Liverpool lawyer, but ran away to sea. Later, he was press-ganged into the Royal Navy. In February 1820, George Edwards, a government provocateur, drew Davidson and Thistlewood and 27 other Spenceans into a plot to kill government cabinet officers as they dined at the Earl of Harrowby's house. Thistlewood selected Davidson as one of an executive of 5 to organise the assassinations. Davidson had worked for Lord Horby in the past and knew some of his staff at Grosvenor Square. His job was to find out more details about the cabinet meeting. One of the servants told him that the Earl of Harrowby was not in London. Davidson relayed this information to Arthur Thistlewood, who believed that the servant was lying and ordered the conspirators to proceed with the plot. On the 23rd of February, the Cato Street conspiracy met in a hayloft on Cato Street near Grosvenor Square. However, there was no cabinet meeting. There was a police raid and 11 men were charged with involvement in the Cato Street conspiracy. Davidson pleaded innocence and claimed the court was prejudiced against black people. However, his presence at the scene with a blunderbuss led to his conviction. Davidson, with his 4 fellow conspirators, were publicly hanged and decapitated outside Newgate Prison, 1st of May 1820. The first black lawyer and barrister in the UK was Christian Frederick Cole. Born in rural Sierra Leone in 1852, Christian Frederick Cole fought his way to Oxford University and qualified as England's first black barrister. In September 1879, Cole became the first black African member of the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple, one of London's 4 prestigious Inns of Court. Then, after 4 more years of study, he achieved another significant landmark. He was called to the bar as the first African barrister to practice in the English courts. James Mccoon Smith. In 1837, Smith was the first African American to hold a medical degree and graduated at the top of his class at the University of Glasgow in Scotland. He obtained a bachelor's degree in 1835, a master's degree in 1836, and a medical degree in 1837. He completed an internship in Paris. Rudolf Dumbo, born November 1907, was a Guyanese conductor, clarinetist and composer, as well as being a jazz musician of note in the 1920s. Leaving British Guyana at the age of 20, he had settled in England by 1931 and subsequently worked in other parts of Europe, but lived most of his later years in London. Among numerous firsts, Rudolf Dumbo was the first black man to conduct the London Philharmonic Orchestra in 1942, the first black man to conduct the Berlin Philharmonic in 1945, and the first black man to conduct orchestras in Poland 1959 and Russia 1964. Dumbo was also a journalist and a war correspondent. Bernie Grant. Bernie Grant was born in Georgetown, British Guiana. In 1963, his parents decided to head for the UK at the government's offer to people from the Crown colonies to settle. Grant attended Tottenham Technical College and went on to take a degree course in mining engineering at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh. In the 60s, for a period, he was a member of the Socialist Labour League led by Jerry Healey. This later became known as the Workers' Revolutionary Party. He quickly became a trade union official and moved into politics, becoming a Labour councillor in the London borough of Haringey in 1978. Grant was elected as the MP for Tottenham at the 1987 general election, one of the UK's first African-Caribbean British MPs, all of them members of the Labour Party Black Sections movement. Grant actually stood for the deputy leadership of the Labour Party, but was unsuccessful. In 1987, he established and chaired the Parliamentary Black Caucus, modelled after the Congressional Black Caucus of the United States. The organisation was committed to advancing the opportunities for Britain's ethnic minority communities. In 1993, Grant co-founded and chaired the African Reparations Movement to campaign for the movement for reparations for slavery and racism. Grant served his community well. His campaigning resonated with the community and wider. And when he passed away on the 8th of April 2000 of a heart attack, aged 56, he left a legacy of hard work, campaigning, and has, in subsequent years, become a legendary figure.
Farmers and ranchers bring their cattle to a regional sale barn where they look to get top dollar from buyers. And at the center of it all, farmers and ranchers bring their cattle to a regional sale barn where they look to get
little A. What begin with A? Auntie Annie's alligator. A. Big B, little B. What begin with B? Baba, baby, bubbles, and one bumblebee. Big C, little C. What begin with C? Camel pan the ceiling. C. Big D, little D. David Donald do dream a dozen donut and duck dog too. A, B, C, D, E. Ear, egg, elephant. E. Big F, little F. F. 4 fluffy feathers and a feather. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Goat, girl, googly, goggles. G. Big H, little H. Hungry horse, hey. Hen in a one hat. Hooray. Big I, little I. I body's itchy, so am I. Big J, little J. What begins with J? Jerry Jordan's jelly jar and jam. It begin that way. Big K, little K. Kitten kangaroo. Kick a keckle, kite, and a king's curlew. Big L, little L. Little Lola Lou, left leg lazy lion, licks a lollipop. Big M, little M, many mumbling mice are making midnight music in the moonlight. Mighty nice. Big N, little N, what begin with those? 9 new neckties and one nightshirt. And a nose. Always very useful. You see it when you set Oscar's only ostrich, oil, and orange owl today. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Painting pink pajamas. Police in a one peel. Peter, Peppers, Puppy, and no Papa, in there at one peel. Big Q, little Q. What begin with Q? The quick queenie of Quincy and her quacking quackadoo. Big R, little R. Rosie Robin Ross. Rosie's going ride on a big red rhinoceros. Big S, little S. Silly Sammy Slick. Sip 6 sodas and got really sick. TTT, what?
I've even got my marriage certificate.
Sonia and Glenda are getting their paperwork in order.
Good to go.
This morning, they've been called in to UK Visa and Immigration Headquarters in Croydon.
Good morning.
You got everything?
Yes, we have. Nice to see you.
But they don't know if it will be good news or bad.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Oh, anxious. Got butterflies in the stomach.
I feel as if that there is a little doubt that we may not get the answers that we want.
Both women came here as children, Glenda in 1961, Sonia in 1974. But in the last few years, failure to meet new paperwork requirements has robbed them of their jobs, their rights and their peace of mind.
From the first word, illegal, not resident. I mean, how are you supposed to feel? I feel like rubbish. First I felt like rubbish, then I felt like I'm guilty of doing something wrong. Yeah.
Glenda and Sonia didn't know it, but today theirs would be the first cases to be resolved by the Home Office's new Windrush Task Force.
More time in our archive. As you know, the Bernie Grant archive is here, and it does include the music that he would listen to and his Walkman, so you can actually come in and listen to the Bernie Grant music collection as well as all of the other stuff. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for that and for creating that for us, specifically for our archive as well as for our audience. Obviously, these concerts are free for you, the audience, to enjoy, whether you're in the room or whether you're watching online, but they're not free to put on. So if anybody would like to make a donation to express your appreciation of Orphy's work, but also the work that we're doing, we'd be enormously grateful. I know times are hard, everybody's having a difficult time, but if you would like to make a contribution, it would be much appreciated. Those of you that are in the room, you'll see two rather odd green glowing devices at the back of the room, which are actually contactless. Lovely Joseph is standing there with his arms out. They are contactless devices that will take £3 from your card or more if you would like. And if you are online or if you would like to donate later, please go to our website, which is bishopsgate.org.uk/give. We would be immensely grateful. Thank you. The concerts will remain free. It's very important. The second thing is that those of you that are in the room, we'd be very grateful if you would complete the survey that will be sent to you by email. I know a number of you, I can see some nods. We've got some regulars here. I think they've probably been sent it more than once. So thank you for your patience. That helps us and the City of London understand how we can do this even better in future. Finally, next week is the final of our summer season, our extraordinary summer season of concerts. It's a duo called Stranger Strings, and it's a duet of harp and theremin. Now, I don't know whether you've ever been in the room when a theremin is being played, but for me, it feels thrilling to actually be vibrating almost through your body. So if you would like to be in the room for that, you know how to book. Either those of you that have been in the room have booked already, or please go onto our website. Thank you once again so much for joining us. Thank you for your attention. Most of all, thank you to Orphy for that amazing performance. Thank you very much.